Welcome to the Dragon's Library, your source for games, movies, shows, and more. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Dragon's Library. And today, I have for you what may very well be my movie of the year. So let's get into it. Today we are reviewing Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Yes, that is a movie title, and yes, it is amazing. It's basically the weird indie comedy parody of all the multiverse stuff that's been going out recently. And it's glorious and wonderful, and you need to see this movie. Now, unfortunately, you can't because it's not in theaters. I actually heard about this on and off, but I didn't realize it was in theaters until only like a week left, and I ran to go see it. And it's probably out of theaters where you are, but on the 16th or 17th, it's going to be coming out on streaming services, starting with like rental places like Amazon. So you will eventually be able to rent this very soon, in a few days. I would recommend just going to this thing purely blind. Like, off the charts, like, you should put this review down right now. I'm going to give you my rating ahead of time because I think you should just go see this blind. So, my rating for this is going to be a 10 out of 10. It's an amazing movie. I will get into that why in this review. I'm kind of giving the game away with this 10 out of 10 early, but I can't even hide it. This is a masterpiece. Like, this is the kind of beautiful writing and visuals and directing that you only see once in a very rare while. And quite frankly, it's amazing. It's a heart-rending, amazing tale with some of the most ridiculous action scenes I think I've ever seen in a movie. Oh god, some of these things were so ridiculous and so fun. The actors are all phenomenal. Go see this. Okay, everyone here has only seen it and they just want to hear my thoughts on it? Well, this is going to be the non-spoiler section of the review for those of you who ignored my initial parts. So, let's talk about what this is. Basic overview, go. The movie is actually separated into 3 parts. Everything, Everywhere, and All at Once. The title. You will get a fake out credit sequence after part 1. I'm giving that away. Mostly so you don't leave during it. Like, the entire audience was a little confused, like, the movie's not over yet, is it? Can't be over. That's not a complete story. So yeah. And I think it's kind of making fun of the whole, all movies have to be split into multiple parts thing there, but it's also breaking it up into easily digestible chapters, which each part has a overlying theme, which is very, very interesting, and has a sort of feel to it as well. I like the actors in this a lot, but let's get into the summary. So, summary of this, we are following Evelyn Wang, and Evelyn Wong, I'm sorry. I think it's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry, I cannot pronounce Chinese to save my life, or Mandarin to save my life. So, forgive me. I apologize. Anyway, she is a Chinese immigrant, Chinese American, who came over here, started a laundromat with her husband, and they're basically drowning in debt. The tensions are high because their laundromat is being audited by the IRS. Her husband has divorce papers he's constantly trying to hand to her. She feels really stressed out. He feels like she's becoming distant and overwhelmed by work, and they're just not the same. Ironically, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's spoilery, but her daughter Joy has been trying to get her mother to accept her new girlfriend, and their grandfather is coming over, and her mother is constantly trying to hide the fact that her daughter has a girlfriend. It's like, I'm very accepting, but he's from a different time. It's like that excuse doesn't fly to Joy. So she's, constantly upset. Evelyn feels like her whole life is just, like, not falling apart, but grayed out and empty and lifeless. Like, everything that gave her joy now is just another problem, Then, all of a sudden, on their way to the IRS meeting, Wayman's personality abruptly changes when another version of him from another reality takes control of his body. So he's from what is called the Alpha universe, basically the first universe to have universal travel. And they basically had developed technology, specifically an alternate version of Evelyn developed technology that allowed you to project your mind into other realities. The further away it is, the more you had to train your mind to not crack under the pressure. Some really, really distant possibilities, like they basically think about it as like a tree. So the lower the branch of divergence was, the larger the gap between you and it. And they're being hunted by Evelyn is being targeted across multiple realities by a all-powerful, multiversal being that seeks to destroy everything by compressing it into some evil black hole. They name it Jobu Tupaki. They constantly, do that. And I'm not going to do any spoilers from that. That's basically it. She basically created this evil thing. She's said to be evil, and she has this dark hole thing that that the alternate universe resistance think is going to suck in the entire multiverse. There's a lot more going on here, though, and basically everything I said gets corrected or qualified in some way. So this is the setup before it gets subverted. I really like Evelyn as a character. She comes off first as just like, I just want to get through life. And it's like, at times life can be like that, It's just this time of just like, I just need to get through one problem after another. But sometimes you'll look up, realize that you've been just trudging along and you haven't really done anything. And you just wonder, what am I living for? Honestly, this has been some of the most realistic depiction of like late life burnout that I've ever seen in a film. It's depressing, it's sad at first, but she tries to work through it and, try and see the world as being better. That's the whole point, is grappling with existentialism and nihilism. Which speak to me as themes. It basically is like, almost like a take it day by day and be nice to each other version of, yeah, we might not matter, nothing might matter, we might be microscopic amoebas and compared to even the smallest of concepts in our universe. But that doesn't mean everything has to be miserable. Why do you need everything to mean something? Which, when a film directly speaks to my worldview, I'll probably, have a good time, be able to engage with it on an intellectual level, maybe. Just maybe. Basically, and one of the interesting things is that each actor in this gets to play off such a wide range. Because Evelyn gets to be like she gets to play the stern, silent, scientist who discover the secret of the multiverse and this depressed burnout. She gets to be this person, another weird evolution universe where humans have this weird distortion. I'm not going to spoil that distortion because I think it's a funny joke. And she's like going through a rough time in her life, just, trying to come to grips with her own, she actually married to, the IRS lady. That universe. And everyone just gets all these weird, crazy interpretations. Like one movie world where she's a kung fu, kung fu Hollywood star. Think Jackie Chan, essentially. And all of it is really interesting because all these different actors get to play so many different roles, and you really get to see the range, which is not something a lot of movies can do. They usually focus in on, like, a lot of, especially big famous actors get typecast as, like, particular things a lot of the time. I imagine Tony Stark is going to spend his, like, not Tony Stark, sorry. I see, I'm doing it right there. I imagine Robert Downey Jr. is going to spend, like, the rest of his acting career trying to get away from the wise-ass, tech genius archetype because, he's going to be so famously known as Tony Stark. And even when they don't have like a really famous actors, a lot of actors seem to be like good at certain roles a lot of the time, and they get funneled in that, I find. It's nice to see all these different actors being like, no, even in this one movie you'll see us doing like 12 different personalities. It's crazy, it's insane, it's fun. The worlds they go to are actually pretty inventive. One of them is a Ratatouille parody. I'm not even joking. I don't wish I was joking because it sounds amazing. It's crazy. It's insane. And I love it. So Evelyn is a great character. I like her daughter Joy. She gets a lot of depth. I'm not going to spoil the secret around her. I like Becky. Becky's just kind of this upbeat, like her and Joy have this very like distant relationship with her mother because her mother is one of those parents that is clearly uncomfortable with her daughter having a girlfriend, but she has to say like, no, I'm comfortable with it. My father is just like a pain. And so we cannot do this here. We cannot do this here, Joy. Like see it as a problem. And Becky is just always like very upbeat about it. She's like, Joy, come on. They're your family. And look, I get it. It's tensions, generational divides, but she tries to be very upbeat about it. And honestly, Becky's just a nice person. Like, I get why Joy, likes her, and I get why they lean on each other. They seem to care about each other. Even when using what little screen time she gets, when you get to the house, she's just like, Hey, Mrs. Wong. How are you doing? And, Joy is fun. She gets to have she probably gets the most extreme role in all of this. Along with Evelyn. I do like Waymond. I think he's used just the right amount. He's basically just like basically, Evelyn has this kind of belief that he's just very incompetent, but he's not as, like, number focused as hers and, like, statistically focused, but he's very socially minded. Which is a skill I can respect, because it's a skill I don't have. For those of you who know, I'm actually on the autistic spectrum, and I have ADHD and Asperger's, and so I have a trouble picking up on social cues. Now, I've gotten better at it as I've gotten older. When I was younger, I was very oblivious to some very obvious social cues, all around me. And I'm still very oblivious. I'm just slightly more aware of it now and try and work around it. But as someone who has like basically zero effective social skills, or the bare minimum need to operate in our society at least, I have massive respect for a guy who can basically connect and essentially emotionally interact with every other person around him. So he's skilled in his own way, but Evelyn doesn't notice that, which I really like. Is like, I like that he's not just an idiot, you know? He's not just like the idiot happy husband. He's like, no, I'm optimistic, but I'm also like able to connect with people socially and work through them. Like when Evelyn starts going a little, well, relative to them crazy, he's able to like explain everything to the police, and he's like, look, we're going through some really shitty stuff right now, and you must understand how it can be in times like these. She found the divorce papers, and I think she's drunk. Please, just don't do this to her today. And this all happens like off screen. We find out later from one of the other people who sits down Evelyn, just like has talks like, I'm sorry about all that. I get it. We're not gonna press charges. It's okay. It's like this moment of like, oh, well, he's actually good at talking to people. I get it. I get why he's still around, honestly, as a person. Like, he has his own unique skill set. Even though he's not the focus of the story, he's definitely a part that we see in the background working. And it's this weird disconnect where Evelyn clearly doesn't see, and we see why, because a lot of his action in the background, but we, as the audience, can't help but notice how he's taking control of situations while she starts going completely bonkers from transmitting her thoughts across realities. And he's all in the distance trying to explain and calm everyone down. And you see that skill in him, which is really cool. And then you have the grandpa. He kind of has like the senile old man kind of thing, but he also has the badass leader of the resistance in the Alpha universe, and those two parts play off each other well. And that's all the characters, really. That's all the major characters. They're all well defined, they're all cool, they're all fun. This mainly comes down to Joy and Evelyn, though. I'm not gonna say more than that. Honestly, I feel like that's, itself is a big spoiler. They're the two main characters. So, moving on from that. What do we got here? We got directing. Ooh, I don't get to talk about direction that much, because aside from the Doctor Strange movie and a few others, direction is kind of one of those things that I just like, I have a harder time seeing it. Like, I can notice individual good shots, but it's hard for me to see overall really good directing, mostly because I haven't really looked for it as I've watched a lot of films until recently. I can definitely see it here. This is amazingly well directed with some amazingly crazy shots. Like, there's one scene where it literally turns into a text dialogue thing, like where the two characters talk to each other because it's a world where they can't talk for various reasons, and they're literally just communicating almost psychically through text boxes. And it's like, it's silent and desolate, and it fits the mood here so freaking well as this like calm down scene, and then it twists, and when reality like twists in on itself, bouncing. And the whole thing where you have to do the big gimmick is you have to do random actions, that align your probability with another nearby universe so you can slingshot yourself to the universe you want to go to. And most people do with this random calculation stuff, but you can also just take the device and throw yourself to the capricious whims of fate. Which is really interesting, all things considered. But, yeah. So, after that, what else do we got here? Honestly, the directing is just really good. This is a fair action scene. The director, let's see, what is his name? Directed by Dan Kwan and Daniel, also known as Dan Schneidert. And Dan Schneider. They're known as the Daniels or the duo film director. So it's actually two people directing this. Very good, excellent performance. Really cool, inventive shots. The writers are also the same people, so they deserve all the credit for this script and this visuals. Oh, fantastic. This also seems to operate on a lot of practical effects. Like, not all, there's definitely some CGI in here, but there also are a decent amount of practical effects, which I really appreciate. The fight cinematography is really nice. Like, this is clearly my people who actually know how to set up a fight scene. All the actors are doing all these crazy martial art Jackie Chan style stuff. And, like, I want to give examples, but I'm not until the spoiler section, and really nobody aside from people who've watched the movie should be here for the spoiler section. But, yeah. Moving on from that, that's about it, honestly. It's a crazy movie, and I don't want to reveal too much, which really limits me in my ability to review it, so that's gonna be all for this. Review section's, we got to 15 minutes. That's decent enough. So, this is a spoiler warning. Probably one of, if not the greatest spoiler warning I have ever given you. Do not listen to this any further unless you have seen this movie. Please, I am begging you, experience this blind. You will be laughing, shocked, mildly disgusted, and amazing. You will not be able to look away from this. You won't. Alright. I've warned everyone. I've done my due diligence. Time for the big stuff. So we have some crazy shit to go over. I'm not even joking. Oh my. Where to even begin? Okay, first off, the evil multiversal threat is Jobu Tapaki. She's actually Alpha Joy, but not really. She's also every Joy. See, what happened was Joy in that universe was pressured by her mother to become one of the best universe jumpers. And she was really skilled at it, had a really high tolerance for doing multiple jumps in a row and jumping to really far off distant worlds. And so, as a result, Joy was essentially used as a guinea pig for a higher caliber of the machine, some really intensive test. And her mind broke. But not like normal. See, usually if you go to too many worlds, your mind kind of shatters and you just die. Like, your mind can't handle the overload of going to so many worlds so much. You basically open up to the multiverse and the multiverse crushes you. But if the pieces instead don't break completely, if you just essentially break your mind, essentially you can also break your mind to shards and fling those shards across the multiverse. And you essentially become a multiversal being. You exist simultaneously in every world at once, and also in individual worlds at one point in time. Joy essentially experiences the whole multiverse, all of it, all at once. And, seeing every decision you've ever made from every possible outcome it could have had, yeah, it doesn't exactly fill you with a lot of meaning in your life. So after realizing that literally none of her choices in her entire life ever, or any choice in any being's life has had any meaning at all, she essentially wants to die. The black hole thing she made, the everything bagel, because this movie is absurd and I love it. It's eventually, at first, everybody thinks it's some kind of weapon she's going to use to destroy the multiverse or take it over or something like that. She has this weird cult that's obsessed with the image of the bagel, and only Joy can even look upon it without dying. But she's also been, while she's been making it, looking for Evelyn, because her mother and her do not exactly have the best relationship across all reality. So it's sort of one of those things. It's implied that she has, it's sort of something she still is preoccupied with. She wants to fix this relationship, but she can't have a relationship with any Evelyn. So she shows them the bagel, trying to shatter their minds like she did to Joy. Her alpha Evelyn shattered her mind, so she keeps trying to show other Joys the bagel and shatter theirs. After the Evelyn we've been following the opening survives jumping to some really far off universes, and her mind seems to have a high tolerance for this, which seems to not really depend on your genetics or anything like that. It seems to be random based on the multiverse. Jobuku Tapaki, or Joy, becomes very fixated on this particular Evelyn, thinking she's finally the one. She takes over the Joy from that universe. There's a lot of tension, she's still there. You don't understand. She's always there everywhere. Even if she's not in control of Destroy at once, she's still present. She's a multiversal being. The only way to deny her access to you is to kill your Joy. And Evelyn's like, no, she's my daughter. I'm not killing her. And her resistance leader, alternate universe grandfather is like, no, you have to. Of course they don't. And Joy shows Evelyn, and Evelyn's projecting into another reality, sort of Joy's home base, where she shows Joy the bagel. And Evelyn's mind breaks. She was trying to break her own mind to gain powers like Joe Bukutaki, because not only can she jump into other people's bodies, she can also, basically by becoming aware of all reality, she gains a sort of multiversal understanding and can rewrite reality in her favor. Like turning bullets into toys, that kind of thing. Grabbing them out of midair. Basically, she says it best. Everything's made of atoms, molecules, electrons, protons, and quarks. And if you know that, and you know what I do, you can just shift them around. So she's basically a reality bender with access to every reality that there is a Joy Wong in, which means every reality past the point of her conception, basically 50% of every reality is after the point of her conception, are essentially open to her at a certain point. Which is a staggering amount of the multiverse. Not all of it, certainly, but there's also more than that. Apparently she can also project into equivalent versions of them. So, like, there are some realities where there are piñatas, that are sort of that look sort of like, Evelyn and Joy. Now, normal people can't project into these realities at all. But basically, if Joy or Evelyn eventually tries to project into these realities, they go into the closest approximate item that could support them. So everyone has like sort of a equivalency, if that makes sense. There's another you in every universe, but not every other you is a sentient living creature, essentially. It's more of like, a compatible wavelength in your body, I guess. That would probably be what my guess to the physics of it would be. Mostly because the craziest moment is when Joy and Evelyn end up transporting themselves into rocks. So basically what happens is Evelyn manages to finally shatter her mind across the multiverse and becomes, like Joy, overwhelmed by it. She's flung constantly from body to body, not really even experiencing a life, just experiencing snippets of life, bit by bit, over and over again. And yeah, she's immensely powerful, but she's not there, really. She's just this presence. She doesn't even have a body of her own, to be honest. Yeah, sheer form is back in her reality, but she's no longer just that Evelyn. She's all Evelyns, everywhere, all the time. She's everything. Everything, everywhere. She's everything, everywhere. And it's breaking her. Just like it broke Joy, she feels empty and hollow as she sees all the decisions that she could have made. The world where she's a movie star and still can't get back together with her husband even when she breaks down. The worlds where she is petty and tries to take revenge on her friend. The worlds where she didn't go with him and she did. The thousands that are just the same horrible life where minor decisions didn't even matter. It just seems like it. And it's sad, you know? A little sad. And they just have this quiet moment where Evelyn finds herself projected into a rock. Just small little rock sitting on a canyon. And then Joy's voice, or text, saying it's Joy appears there. It's like, are you here? She's like, yeah. I like to come here sometimes. It's quiet. No other living things. If I concentrate really hard, I can come here and just forget that I'm so many people, but never actually them. That I'm not even existing anymore. This is horrible suffering. It doesn't matter. None of it matters. And I just want it to end. Because that's the sad part. She's gained immortality. In this suffering, she is eternal. Because it doesn't matter what you do to their bodies at this point. They already exist beyond those bodies. They exist in a world where everything is real, including worlds where they probably will never die. And that means that they have to exist in this state of existing everything, everywhere, forever. And Joy's sick of it. She's done with it. She used her reality manipulating power to essentially take everything she was, all those horrible fears and motivations, that deep, crushing, nihilistic despair inside her, and she forged it into this black hole that she hopes will finally be able to crush her with its infinite weight. The infinite weight of all the crushed dreams of every version of herself. And for a moment, it looks like Evelyn's going to just go in with her. She can't handle this. And Joy has this moment where she's just like, you know, I had hoped that if I ever found an Evelyn who was like me, they'd have a different answer. That you'd see all this and tell me it's actually beautiful and show me something I've missed. 'Cause she's essentially a god. But she couldn't verify that. She thought she knew everything. But there's no one else like her. How could she know that there was a blind spot she hadn't seen? So she sought out her mother. Someone she instinctively wanted to go to for reassurance and help that many of her counterparts never got. And when she found her, and when she gave her this power, when she found an Evelyn who was just as infinite as her, and she asked her, should we kill ourselves? And that Evelyn said yes. She felt sad because she was hoping her mother would have a different answer. She was hoping her mother wouldn't want to jump in the bagel with her. And she breaks. Her and Evelyn are about to go jump in it. And then she sees hope. Small little moments. That business version of Waymond and her movie star self trying to make it work even though it's been so many years. The version of herself that put pity revenge on a coworker, trying to make it right. The other realities where she and Waymond work through things, you know? And she looks at all of it and she just decides, I'm not ready. There are too many options where we can still make this right. Just because there are countless realities where everything goes wrong doesn't mean all of them have to go wrong. And she takes comfort in the fact that sometimes, if you're lucky, if you try, maybe things can go right. Which, yeah, nothing matters, so why would you worry? She essentially goes from nihilistic pessimism to nihilistic optimism, over the course of essentially infinite timelines, and it's gorgeous. All the scenes with that are just, fantastic. By the way, this is all interspersed with an inner reality war with followers of both Jobu Tupaki and the Alpha Resistance all fighting each other using kung fu moves they siphoned off, invading other people in the reality we started in order to use using devices to gain kung fu knowledge from other realities by performing random actions and hitting a button on a headset. There's actually this one ridiculous scene about midway through the movie where Evelyn is fighting these two guys and they both get desynced from other realities, so they have to look constantly around for a new path. And one of the guys gets an alert from his backup unit, and it's like, you need to insert something up your butt. And there was this scene at the beginning of the movie where the IRS lady shows us her awards, and they look like dildos. Yes. So Evelyn and him, now stripped of their kung fu abilities, start fighting over the dildo trophy to show one of them can shove it up their butts and get kung fu powers. And then a third guy jumps in and ends up jumping over the desk to land his ass on the trophy, and it happens in slow motion. I sound hysterical right now, but this is an actual thing that happens in this movie. I'm sorry. Oh, I can't even say that without just remembering how serious they shot that scene. And it was just this moment of absolute absurdism. Oh, I freaking love it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It was funny, hilarious, awesome, action-packed, emotionally heartfelt drama. It's like one of those fake movie descriptions. Yeah, you would not believe this movie. It has action and heartfelt drama and an amazing, awesome protagonist and all these other things that you can't possibly imagine. And even one moment where a guy sticks something up his butt and gains kung fu powers. And God, I still can't say it without laughing. And it's it sounds like one of those fake movie trailers that people make up. It's ridiculous parodies of movies that never came out and people say would have been awesome. Yeah, the time Yahtzee did that, fake review for Duke Nukem Forever, and he talked about all the fake, fake game design decisions they did, and it's it sounds like that. It sounds like I'm making fun of this movie. I'm not. It's actually awesome. And I know this seems like it should be a mess, and honestly, if somebody had told me about this movie and said all this stuff, I'd be like, that sounds like an utter mess of a film. It's like, no, it's all very heartfelt and built into how Evelyn and Joy need to overcome their own personal relationship, better their personal relations and stuff, and overcome this crushing this existential dread and nihilistic philosophy they've gained from complete cosmic awareness that also has to deal with the sort of slight bitterness and emptiness that has flowed into the normal lives that the original versions of them had to deal with for so long. And yes, they actually wove these outer themes of like the grand concept fight between the concepts of them as multiversal beings and had them parallel the individual inter-character dramas of the original Evelyn and Joy of that universe. Their schism. It's literally their relationship problems with, that family taken up to multiversal level. So of course it ended with two people trying to throw themselves into a black hole, one person trying to stop the other, and all sorts of shenanigans, because of course something gets absurd. One of the people, I've heard somebody else describe it. I was talking to somebody else about this movie and they saw it too. And they were like, they heard, what was it? Genre anarchy. Apparently they said they read another review that called it something like that. And honestly, yeah, it's animation, it's action movies, it's science fiction and fantasy, it's kung fu martial arts movies like Jackie Chan. It's literally so many things. Look, Doctor Strange did a good job with the multiverse. This did an excellent job. Doctor Strange was a 7 out of 10, maybe an 8 out of 10 because I felt generous that day. This is a 10 out of 10, no question. Probably one of like 4 movies I feel confident saying 10 out of 10 without any qualifiers. I'm not going to tell you what my other ones are all at once, but I will tell you one. And it's my favorite anime movie all time. It's How to Train Your Dragon. Look, I'm a dragon. I love that movie. And also, that movie is amazing and everyone should go see it because holy shit, Toothless is adorable. But I'm not talking about that right now. I'm talking about one of the only other 3 movies that I feel confident getting a straight 10 out of 10. No qualifiers, no iffing or erring. Maybe I go back and forth on 9 and 10 depending on what day it is. No, this is a 10, everything, everywhere, all the time. Absolutely. 10 out of 10, everywhere, all at once. Love it, nailed it. So yeah, this is the insane ramblings. That was my spoiler section. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. I had a lot of fun talking about this. Let's go over. Let's see here. Ooh, next we get to talk about Moon Knight. That was a fun show. Can't wait to talk about that. I really liked its different changing in perspective. So you'll get to hear me ramble on about that next week. Sounds like fun. I will also be uploading my YouTube video from last week later this evening. So check that out. Go check out my YouTube videos. I put some work into the drawings. And I get the trailers. I get those nice HD trailers. It'd be nice if you guys go check out my YouTube channel. But yeah. I also fixed the pod page website, so if you guys want to go to my actual website, you can click on the links in the description, or you might be there yourself. Maybe you're already there. Nice on you. Thank you. So, yeah. See you guys next time. Bye. I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode, and thank you for listening to The Dragon's Library. Please subscribe to this podcast to be notified of new episodes. The Dragon's Library releases new episodes Tuesday and Friday each week, and you can follow us on Twitter at dragon_library2. If you want to suggest an episode topic, my email is in the description below. And as always, thank you so much for all your support.